How y'all doing? I'm the Watchman, and this video right here is very important, y'all. You know, when I found out this news, I immediately knew that I had to share with some where this meeting. The news. When I found out the news that Pope Francis and Obama were going to be meeting together, having a special meeting on the 27th. You know, my mind went straight to what I'm gonna share with you today. And there's so many people who don't know what I'm gonna share with you today. And it's crazy because I started doing these Pope Francis when I started doing these videos on the things that's been happening recently. I've been put on a little time limit on my videos, so I'm gonna speed this up and see if I can crunch all this in 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, if I go too fast, if you have any questions, let me know. Inbox me and I'll write you back. Inbox me and I'll write you back. But let's get right into it. Like I said, since time is short, because this is prophecy. Obama and Pope Francis meeting, they are fulfilling prophecy right before our very eyes, and they want to keep all of this hid. They want to keep all of this hid, but it's in plain sight. So how do they keep it hid? By keeping you ignorant of prophecy. By keeping you ignorant of prophecy. Let's go back to Revelation 13. If you looked at my last video, Revelation 13 and verse talks about a beast that comes out of the sea. Now, beast in Bible prophecy means kingdom. Kingdom. And you can refer to this in Daniel chapter 7. Beast means kingdom, and sea means multitudes or peoples and nations and tongues. Multitudes, peoples, nations, and tongues. Now, in Revelation 13, verse 3, we see that here's a beast that comes up out of the sea, and it had 7 heads. It had 7 heads. Now, we see in verse 3. Now, we know Rome is located on 7 mountains, 7 hills. It's often called the city of 7 hills. Now, this beast has 7 heads, and we see in verse 3 that says, in Revelation 13 verse 3, it says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. Now this is a reiteration to lay the groundwork for this meeting between Obama and the Pope. Now it says in verse 3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. Now this wound took place in 1798 by General Berthier of Napoleon's army when he marched into Rome, took the Pope captive, and that very Pope died in exile. That's when the Catholic Church lost their authority and supremacy over the church. But in 1929, Mussolini gave the Pope back his authority, back his supremacy over the Catholic Church, and this is when his wound was healed. So he received the wound in 1798, and through Mussolini in 1929, the Catholic Church wound was healed. His wound was healed, and we see that in verse 3. It says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. All the world wondered after the beast. Now, check this out. Now, God is going to do a reiteration from verse 4 all the way up to verse 9. He told us what happened. Now he's going to go into further detail. In the Bible, God does that a lot. He'll state something, then in the next verses, he'll go into detail about what he just stated. He says, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. We know the dragon is the devil. The beast is the Roman Catholic Church. And they worship, now it says, and they worship the dragon. They didn't know that they were worshiping the devil, but because they worshiped under the system of worship that the beast that the Catholic Church set up, they were in actuality worshiping the devil himself, and they didn't realize. But that's the tricknology of the devil, and we see that in that biblically. That's what the Bible states. Verse 4 again, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Verse 5, and there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies. Like we said, some of those blasphemies was that I can forgive sins. Mary is the mediator between earth and heaven. Okay. And power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. That is the 1260 days, which ended in 1798. Verse 6, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle. You know, how did he blaspheme? Or another way he blasphemed the temple. He sits on a throne inside of God's sanctuary. And them that dwell in heaven. And it was given him, verse 7, and it was given him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. Over 200 million Christians were killed in that 1260 time period. And really even before that, with Nero and Dionysius, all of them. I mean, Diocletian, all of them were murdering and slaughtering Christians. But anyway, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If any man hath the ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. When did that last verse happen? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Remember what I said. General Berthier at the end of the 1260-day prophecy. General Berthier of Napoleon's army marched into Rome, took an army into Rome, and took the Pope captive. He did all this killing. They did all this killing with the sword, leading into captivity, torturing with the Spanish Inquisition, murdering and slaughtering women, children, men for years. And then in 1798, they themselves got taken into captivity, and he died, and the Pope died in captivity. But anyway, a lot of people don't know where America sits in prophecy, and this is why this is so important. This right here, verse 11, Revelation 13 verse 11 is the introduction of the United States of America. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. The two horns represent Christianity and also innocence. So they said had two horns like a lamb. He appeared a Christian nation, and it appeared innocent, but it says it spake. Speaking means actions. Its actions were wicked and evil. Does that pinpoint America to the key? America said, come on, this is the land of the free, the home of the brave. This is a Christian nation. But yet and still they had every single kind of a slave that you can imagine. Slaughtering, murdering, and killing all, even our forefathers. Google the Jefferson Bible. Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, they did not believe in God. Even though they put it in the Constitution, you have to be wary. Which God are they really referring to? All of them went to school. Benjamin Franklin went to school over in France. And Benjamin Franklin was the leader, one of the head of the Hellfires Club, which was a satanic club. Jefferson wrote the Jefferson Bible, where he omitted all the miracles of Christ because he said it wasn't reason. Anything supernatural that happened, they said it couldn't have happened because it defied reason. They worshipped under the goddess of reason. Google it for yourself. If you think I'm lying, Google it first. Google the Jefferson Bible, where he omits all the miracles of Christ. But anyway, let's get to it. Because now let's get to where this meeting between Pope Francis and Obama is prophecy being fulfilled. Okay, and verse 12 says, and he exerciseth all, talking about America, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him. Remember, that first beast was the Catholic Church. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. This is why, beloved, and I'm going to run with me. This is why when dealing God in Revelation 16 verse 13, God only mentions three: the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. The false prophet is all the Protestant churches who worship like the Catholic Church tells them to worship. Catholic Church says worship on Sunday, they worship on Sunday. Catholic Church, we just had a whole bunch of them stand up and say, we are Catholic now, we are Catholics. Anyway, Revelation 16. This is why you only see these three. Where's the world power spoken at in this three? You have the dragon, the beast, and the false power. Where's the world power? Where's the United Nations? Revelation 16 verse 13 says, "And I saw three unclean spirit like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet." You see these three. I call it the devil's trinity. Why don't you hear about the world power? Why don't you hear about America in this trinity? Because that beast, that kingdom, is the Catholic Church. Why? Because just like it says in Revelation 13 verse 13, and he doeth great wonders. No, I mean Revelation 13 verse 12, and he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast. The world power, America, is a servant of the Catholic Church. He causeth them to worship the first beast before him. The America is not her own. She's being run by a higher power. Last year, Obama stood Pope Francis in front of the United Nations and said, "This is the spiritual leader of the world." Of the world. He made Pope Francis the spiritual leader of the world. They are coming to this one world religion. This is what it boils down to, is a one world religion. But let's get to that meeting. Verse 13, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of all men. And this is even a reference to Matthew 24:24, where Jesus says, in the last days there shall be false Christ and antichrist, and they shall deceive even the very elect. And they shall deceive even the very elect. Ooh, and then verse 14 speaks of the deception. In verse 14 it says, "And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast." It's saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. So America makes an image to this beast. And you see where it says, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, meaning the beast is sitting there overlooking this stuff. The Catholic Church, who's the head of the Catholic Church? The Pope. He's sitting there overlooking what America is doing. And and as you see in verse 14, it says, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast. Now some might say, well, what is this image? What is an image? When I stand in the mirror, I'm looking at my image. Now that image, is it me or is it a reflection of me? See, this image right here is a reflection. See, so what happens? See, this is why they want to keep you ignorant of history, because it says America will make an image of that first beast. Well, that first beast was horrible and persecuted. First, it was a government run by a religious power, and it persecuted and killed all those who stood against it. Over 200 million Christians were killed by the Roman Catholic Church. This is history, y'all. Even the Spanish Inquisition, they tortured and they slaughtered millions. Women, children, they spared none. And this is the image that is going to be duplicated and reflected. This is the image that America is going to build. And not only that, America is going to bring life to the image, meaning America's gonna bring it alive. America's gonna make it alive, make it living and valuable. And God explains that in verse 15, Revelation 13, verse 15. It says, "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." Beloved, these powers are meeting together. It said the beast was overlooking this little bitty beast, overlooking America in verse 14. You know, it says he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Beloved, be not deceived. These movements that they are making are not little ones. They are gigantic. They are huge. It is time. It's hard, beloved. We are living in a time where we have more sins existing, more ways to sin, more ways to corrupt our minds than any time in history. It is not easy to lay it all on the floor to God. I personally know I have things that I wrestle with daily. Beloved, it is time we fight to lay these things at the feet of Jesus. It is time to come to Christ. It is time, beloved. It is time.